Hi, how you doing? I'm Sharon, and this is MySaskGarden, where I garden on a large yard in a small town in east central Saskatchewan. And today I want to talk about all those leaves. I don't always rake the leaves. It really does depend on the weather a lot. Back here we have two giant-sized golden willows, and they drop a lot of leaves, but they drop them late in the season, often after it snows, is when they drop the leaves. In our front yard, we have really weedy ash and maple leaves trees, which they drop the seeds and such. And so we don't very rarely rake those. If we do, we bag them and put them out for pickup for compost. Most often, what happens with the ones in the front, the ash trees, after the first frost, those leaves just rain right down. They are often mowed over and with a mulching mower, and there's very little left at the end of it. We don't have to pick them up. The other thing that happens, especially with the maple tree, they're not much of a leaf when they fall. They dry up to almost nothing. The wind usually takes them. I'm sure they're over in the next province. And so the front yard is rarely raked. If it is, like I said, they are put out for the compost. I don't like to use them only because of all of the weed seeds. I battle enough ash and maple tree seedlings in the yard that I don't want to add the leaves and battle even more. But back here is a different story. Like I said, these leaves usually fall quite late in the season, and then in the spring, we just don't have a chance to pick them up in the fall. And then in the spring, it can be a couple inches or so thick back here with leaves. They're black in the spring, they're wet from the melting snow, and they're a bit of a mess to deal with at that time. Or they can be, not all the time, but they can be. So when the weather's decent, when we get a decent fall, like we're having this year, today is November 2nd, and I'm thinking, should I water the perennials, because it's just been such a beautiful fall. So anyways, while the weather's nice, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to rake up some of these leaves. Back here, a lot of the leaves also blow into the perennial beds, and I leave them, or they get gathered up in the trees and shrubs at the back, and I leave those. I don't take care of anything. I don't gather the leaves out of anything around the perimeter, just off the grass, if I get a chance to do so. And how do I use them? Well, I don't use them really for mulch. What I prefer out of these leaves is for leaf mold to happen. And leaf mold is really just decomposed leaves that turns into soil. It's not really mold at all. I don't know why it's called leaf mold. I suppose it's the process. It's the bacteria that begins to decompose those leaves, but it's never really mold. So it's kind of a funny term that way. However, leaf mold is awesome for a soil additive, or anywhere really, as long as it's weed free. And that's my thing about the front yard leaves, for sure. So I'm going to build a structure over there, over by the strawberry bed. I'm pointing over there like I'm going to build a temporary structure over by the side of the shed where the strawberry bed is. And I just want to see what happens just over one season, over winter and such. I want to see how much that turns into leaf mold. I'm not going to shred these leaves at all, shredded leaves. It would supposed to happen within 6 months. We, of course, never shred them. They just usually fall where they are, and they become soil eventually. Under the tree, under the silver willow back in that corner, there's lots of leaf mold it's years of leaves that have decomposed, nice clean leaf mold. And I have actually this year, we gathered 3 wheelbarrows of leaf mold out of there to use in the strawberry bed. So that's the kind of thing that I would like to use it for, and that I would like to make use of the leaves instead of them just not going to waste, but not going to something as beneficial as leaf mold that I'd like it to go to. So I'm just going to get these cleaned up. I'll also mention that I love raking. I love raking anything. Gravel, soil, leaves is very easy on the arms. It's just light, and so this is an enjoyable task for me when I do get the opportunity to do it. I think raking for me is kind of like how some people like to vacuum thick plush carpet, and you see those vacuum lines, you know, and then you can't step on it because you're going to mess up those vacuum lines. And raking is kind of that way for me, although I certainly don't worry about every leaf. I just really want to get the worst of it. Of course, you should do this on a fairly quiet day, wind-wise. Wouldn't be a very calming task if you're battling the wind. In my reading online, reading in Facebook groups and such, watching other videos, I see that raking or cleaning up your gardens or getting rid of dead material, that's a pretty controversial subject. And, you know, I don't think gardening should really be controversial. I think that it should be, you're taking care of soil and plant material and whatever it is. You're beautifying your yard, your area, and certainly it shouldn't be a fight about who does what and how they do it. If you're not hurting anything, not raking your leaves doesn't hurt anything, and raking your leaves doesn't hurt anything. So there's benefits to both ways, and there's perhaps some hindrances to both ways. It doesn't cause snow mold. That's a common kind of statement, is that if you leave them, they will cause snow mold, and it's not true. Snow mold will happen on the cleanest of lawns. It really depends on how the snow is melting and the bacteria that's in the soil and how things happen that way. Leaves have nothing to do with it. So there's a lot of myths out there, and I think that you really shouldn't believe everything you read or hear. There's a lot of bad information online, for sure. There is. If I've learned anything over the years of reading online forums and such, it's that there is a fair amount of bad information, and I hope that I don't pass along any of that bad information, believing it. But I do tend to try and read lots of sources, and then I'll go to scientific papers if I need to see what the truth really is. So sometimes myths just irritate the heck out of me, and again, that shouldn't be. Gardening is meant to be something calming and good for the soul, and something you should enjoy. And if it just becomes chores, maybe that's not really for you. I like almost every process of gardening. Everything from planning a new yard, planning what to plant, all the way through to cleanup. I enjoy it all. So to me, it's not really a chore. It's, I don't know what it is, cathartic somehow. Mostly I just like growing stuff. Speaking of growing stuff, these two little, or these two giant-sized willow trees were once little saplings about that big that I planted here. So I take full responsibility for all of these leaves and all of these twigs that fall. I actually planted everything in this yard, all of the chokecherries and whatever else is in here. There's some seedling things. There's high bush cranberry in there. There's a few other kind of shrubs, and it was just bare land to start with. My dad and I actually together planted the chokecherries, so that's a fond memory for me. To do over again, I would not choose chokecherries, but I would choose to plant them with him. All right, I got the worst of them. I mean, probably in a week more will fall, and you might not be able to see the difference. However, at least I got this part of it, and we'll see what it's like in the spring, or who knows, maybe in a couple of weeks we'll have another really nice day and I can rake more leaves. So I'm just going to take all of this and I'm going to put it over in that structure over there that I built, that temporary structure. A builder I am not, and we'll see how it goes. I think I'm just going to go straight into. I like this tote because it fits into most things, and also I can use it to press down and compress. But I think I'll just put them straight into here and then compress. Also very handy. I don't know if you've seen those. They're like two small rakes on handles that you sort of hold under your arms, from what I can gather. And then you don't have to bend, and you just dump. It would be like these, but on sticks. And they work that way. Those look pretty cool. I don't have any of them, but I'm sort of thinking about it. All right. Time to dump. I'm going to put a couple buckets of leaves underneath this silver willow right here. That's where the leaf mold has been building for a number of years. And I did harvest. I did get a few wheelbarrows full of leaf mold from there in the spring. So I think I'll put some extra leaves back there. And I'll just take you along and show you what it looks like back there. So back here, as I mentioned, this is where I let leaves just fall and do whatever they are meant to do. This is a big old silver willow. I planted it, but it's about 25 years old now. It suffered some damage from an ice storm and just some broken branches, but we've also had it trimmed, but it just keeps on going. So I do like it. It's a nice big tree for the yard, and there's about 10 feet from the fence to this lilac bush, and the willow, I'm going to say there's probably about 10 feet. For a while I did let it go, thinking that it could just be bush, and I would let it just be bush in the yard, kind of let it go wild, but it really did turn into a great big mess. Lots of ash tree seedlings and Manitoba maple seedlings, the common elder shrub, lots of those, dogwood. There was just all through the chokecherries. I've been having to work at cleaning those because I don't want it to turn into that kind of a messy, especially the Manitoba maple and the ash trees. They're like my nemesis, so I'm going to try and keep all that at bay. But this is where we harvested about 3 wheelbarrows full of leaf mold earlier this year. And I'm just going to show you what it turns into. I should have brought a shovel because it is soil. It's quite dry. It's dry under the willows. The whole yard is dry from the willow trees. They have all of these little roots that go along the soil and suck all the moisture up. And so I know that it's decomposed leaves and not soil from the soil, that what was there 25 years ago. And the reason I know that is because if I go down far enough, I will find landscape fabric that I had initially put here 25 years ago. Anyways, that's what that leaf mold looks like. It's just soil. It's just excellent soil, and I think it's worth working at to get more of it. The chain link fence does a pretty good job of keeping it all at bay. There is lots of leaves in the alley, and that's from the silver willow. So I will rake those up, and then it's easy just to dump them over on this side. I suppose a few more blow over through the fence, but for the most part they stay put and get to work making leaf mold. I mentioned that I built this temporary structure to contain the leaves, and I just wanted to do that. For one, I want to see if I can make that leaf mold a little bit faster than it takes underneath the tree. And second of all, this is the place where it would benefit probably the most. This is currently my strawberry bed, and that's where I put the 3 wheelbarrow full loads of leaf mold to start with, was in here just to build up the soil and have a nice loose kind of rich soil. And so I just took 6, I think they're 5-foot lengths of rebar, and I pounded them in about a foot, and I zip tied some chicken wire onto it, and then I left this part open just for a door, which I can close. I think I mentioned I am not a builder, but I did it, and it's going to work. It's going to work just fine. When you're making leaf mold, it's beneficial to wet the layers as they go in. But our hoses are put away for winter, and I'm not going to bring them out and start all that process again. Some of the leaves that went in there were bagged leaves, and they were actually quite wet. And second of all, the leaves that are coming off the lawn, the willow leaves, they're not dry and crunchy. And so I think that there will be some composting and some moisture going on in there. So I'm just going to keep on getting the leaves from the backyard, dumping them in here until this is full. And if I still have more leaves, then the rest are going to go back underneath the silver willow, just to do what nature does. I think that's going to be it for me today. The wind is starting to pick up in the backyard. It's feeling a little bit cooler, and there's only a few piles left, and those I'm just going to put underneath the willow tree, I think, to let nature do its thing. Thanks very much for watching today. I do appreciate it. I hope you found it enjoyable in some way. I know it wasn't exciting just watching me rake and pile up leaves. But that's what gardening is. It's every task that I have, I'm going to bring you along with me. And today it was raking leaves. So if you did enjoy it, or found it entertaining or informative in any way at all, please give me a thumbs up. Also, tell your friends and subscribe to the channel. I do appreciate it. Thanks again. See you.